Hey everybody, it's Charlie from DM Moto, and one of the beauties of the motorcycle world, especially compared to the automotive world, is that you can still go out and buy from the showroom floor a vehicle that has not been changed in the last 30 years. This is one example, the Honda XR650L. As you're seeing it here, this is essentially the same core components that were designed and pushed out in 1993. Over 30 years of technological innovation completely disregarded for this motorcycle. The XR650 is the epitome of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And now it does seem that Honda has decided that it is finally broken. 2025 will be the last model year for the XR650L, for this, the big pig. Today we're going to find out if we are losing anything in that. Now, it is actually coincidence that I just so happened to pick up this media bike from Honda right at the same time that Honda is announcing that they will no longer be selling the XR650L. Whether it be tightening emissions regulations, whether it be poor sales, we won't ever quite know why this is finally leaving showroom floors, but I do know that there are still plenty out there that you could go and purchase for yourself for just over $7,000 and get you this single cylinder, naturally aspirated 644cc, essentially dirt bike. It's about 350 pounds, wet and ready to ride. It is tall with a 37-inch seat height. It is carbureted, so you've got a choke right here up on the handlebars right there. You've got a petcock. You've got a 2.8 gallon fuel tank here for the very low compression, big thumper engine. And you've got some decently meaty tires here from Honda, although I'm sure most people that buy XR650Ls go and put anything more aggressive on there. So this is going to be our DM Commuter test. We're going to go and we're going to fill it up. We're going to go out and do our test loop of mixed riding, come back, fill it all the way up again, and see what sort of fuel economy you get. Because unlike something like a XR650L, you've got no sort of digital instrumentation here to tell you what kind of fuel economy you're getting. You have beautiful analog odometer and trip meter right there. So this will not be the full review of the bike. You'll have to subscribe and stay tuned for another month or so, because I want to actually take this out, do some proper off-roading with it, do a little bit of adventure riding, and talk about what we're losing here with the XR650L. But with Honda's news that this bike is going to be discontinued, I put on my gear, and despite being a bit under the weather, we're still going to shoot this ride. So this is going to be a nice cold start here. Sounds like we're going to need a little bit of choke. So pull that back about halfway. Let's try that. There we go. Right to life. Oh, still need a little choke. Let's ride off in first. Oh man, I've got this weird bug. It's not even really, I mean, it's more than a bug. I've been pretty sick this week, and the strength is not quite there in my hands the way it usually is. I'm actually going to have a little bit of a tough time shifting this motorcycle. So this will be interesting. And we feel me kind of wrestling with it here as it warms up. Now this motorcycle hasn't been used a ton. It's probably got a little bit of older fuel. Obviously we're dealing with 10% ethanol gasoline these days, so I'm sure that has not kept the carbs super clean. 235 miles on here. See if we can get a little life in it. Despite this not being the easiest bike to get running, even on a beautiful sea level day that we're on right here, I like bikes like this because there's character to them. They've got a charm. I'm actually interacting with this and kind of treating it almost like it's a horse or something. Let's just get a little choke here. Unlike a fuel-injected bike that you simply fire up and go. And it smells. I can smell kind of the unburnt fuel coming out of the exhaust there. Now, a lot of people put big old tanks on these bikes. We are just running stock here. Of course, regular gasoline. Not going to get any benefit from putting premium in an 8.3-to-1 compression ratio engine. There we are, just almost topped off right to about the tip of the tank there. Nice metal fuel tank too. That's cool. I'll rotate that around to reset our trip. Gosh, that's so satisfying. Okay, so we are ready to roll. A few other things to note for the test. It's a beautiful 72 degrees here today. Like I said, we are at sea level. Also, we've set the tires to their placard 22 PSI front and rear. And I'm going to be riding today as if you were just riding into the office or commuting on this bike. It's very easy, staying within about 5 miles per hour of posted speed limits. Just a nice leisurely ride. Ooh, yeah. She's happy now. Also, like I said, I am a little bit under the weather, so my commentary might be a bit limited. But let's see what it would be like to use an XR650L as a daily rider here in 2026. Now, I'm already nervous about the comments I'm going to receive on this video, so I want to get a few things out of the way right now. I don't need people coming in and talking about, oh, you must not know how to ride a carbureted motorcycle, or oh, blah, 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 about bikes from 30 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever, ABS, fuel injection, any of that. You guys got to understand, I do like bikes like this. I'm trying to get that very clear right in the beginning. I understand what this bike is and what it isn't. So anything I say that's negative about the bike, I don't want you to come in and go, oh, you don't understand the bike, it's not what it's for. I know that, but many more people are going to find this video and wonder, hey, should I get an XR650L, or should I get something with fuel injection, or should I get something with ABS, or should I get something with a lower seat height? Hold your comments for the full review as to, you know, if this bike is a good motorcycle or if it's worth buying or whatever. This is evaluating what the motorcycle is like from a daily riding perspective here in 2026. And right off the bat, I'm telling you, it's fun, it's cool, it's got character and charisma. This is so much more a bike like that W230 that we reviewed a few months ago or something, and a lot less like something like a Z500. Now that we are warmed up, it does seem like we're idling just fine. I don't even think it was fully an issue of warmth. I also think, like I said, the carburetor just needed a good cleaning out. So I'll probably try to get on it a little bit here out of some of these stop signs and try to clear everything out with a little bit of an Italian tune-up. We've got a good amount of power coming out of this single. Something in the mid-40s for horsepower, I believe. I'll have to look at the torque figures. Probably something in the upper 20s pound-feet. It's there. It's grunty. Little opportunity here for gear check. We are rocking our Revit gear. I got the Ortez jeans, the off-track jacket, the boundless boots, and the dirt gloves. This is a great outfit for kind of casual adventure riding like this. Good protection from everything, but also a decent bit of comfort, and it kind of looks cool. You know, so very understated styling. I've also got my Arai Contour X helmet on, and today I'm rocking the what do you call it? The H-Move backpack from Headlights. It's an airbag, but it's also a backpack. And it's also an electronic tether, which means I don't have anything plugged into the motorcycle. I can just simply hop on and go. Coming up to this red light, let's talk seat height. 37 inches. Is that prohibitive? To some people, yeah, it's gonna be. I am 32-inch inseam, 5'10", 165-ish pounds. And here at the stop with the suspension compressed, I kind of bouncing the bike back and forth between my tippy toes, sort of passing it. I can stay still right here with both my tippy toes, or I can kind of lean the bike over and then get down with one foot flat. So typically if I'm stopped here, I'm going to have my right foot on the brake and my left foot flat-footed holding the bike. That was a beautiful Ferrari. And then I sort of just release, and off we go. If you are a newer rider, it's not going to be easy for you. I'm just putting it right out there. It's another thing you got to consider, and it does take away from your confidence a little bit. If you live in an area where lane filtering is legal, as it is here in California, you can use the XR650L to kind of slip through like this. Now, the bars do feel a bit wider than some of the other dual sports that we're used to. So you do have to be a little bit more careful. The mirrors are obviously upright and right there. This is a little person on this bike. And by that I mean a small person, not a midget. Just a person who has a small stature. Cool, bro. You got a fast bike. I have a XR650L, so I mean, who's really doing better here? No gear indicator and only a 5-speed transmission, so you do kind of have to keep track of what you're in. Fortunately, the power band is pretty wide, so it's not like you have to be right on the boil to get power out of this. And you do certainly feel if you're too low or too high. You're kind of always feeling the engine. But you do sit very tall on the XR. We've got a ton of ground clearance, ton of height. And so average size crossovers and cars around the street, I'm looking at their roofs. And great seating position and posture. So I am both able to see and be seen quite well on here. The gear spacing between first and second is a bit peculiar though. Second's very low, and I get that. It's a very tall gear for crawling off-road and everything, but then second is pretty far away. So here I'm kind of I'm lugging the bike in second, but then if I'm in first, then I'm ringing it out. So that's a bit strange. I don't know how well, especially with this huge seat height. I mean, I'm literally just dangling my feet right now as I ride. And I'm getting through people. Beautiful Friday afternoon here on PCH. Got everybody enjoying the beach. Waves crashing in. This could be a sight from 30 years ago on an XR650L. Coming into Laguna Beach, always a good opportunity to talk about the sound on the bike. And this one's got kind of a fun gruntiness and poppiness, and because it's not perfectly fuel injected, you do kind of get an unpredictability to the pops and burbles and kind of exhaust note out of the bike here. It's not loud, but it's not quiet. It certainly has that classic thumper sound. Coming through these narrower city spots, again, it's where I just got to be a little bit more on top of my game in terms of being ready to get feet down, and also shuffling through first and second gear, because again, first you end up feeling like an idiot revving your bike out, but then second you can't really come to a stop. You know, in some bikes you can kind of feather the clutch and just come to the stop in second. It's not really the case with this bike. Maybe if there's a little bit of a downhill or you're willing to roll the stop a little bit. But gosh, it sure does take those road imperfections well with almost 12 inches of suspension travel. 3rd Street Hill. Definitely want to be careful on a bike like this because too much accelerator will certainly loop it. It's got plenty of power to wheelie up, and obviously not a hint of any sort of electronic aid on here. No ABS, no traction control. Wasn't even fathomed on a motorcycle like this back in 1993. Also, big shout out to the 6-foot bed Tundra in front of us here. Full crew cab, 6-foot bed. You don't see too many of those. Coming up to our spirited riding section. Like I said, we do have a pretty decent power to weight with this motorcycle. It's not very heavy, so despite not making a ton of horsepower, we should be able to have a little bit of fun with it. And of course, plenty of ground clearance. Shouldn't have to worry about scraping peg. Power is strong in the mid-range, but it definitely tapers off up near the top. And the vibrations coming through, oh my goodness. But it is fun to kind of lay it down a little bit here through the corner. Yeah, even with a passenger on the back or a good bit of gear, I have plenty of grunt for getting up hills like this. Just got to be okay with those vibrations. Coming into the end of the city portion of the DM Commuter test. If you're a larger and or more experienced rider, the 650 is fine for around town. In fact, it does have some nice benefits. The visibility, the bump absorption, especially if you live in an area with rougher roads, and the general lightness. Despite being tall and carrying its weight kind of high, it's still a fairly lightweight bike. So you can kind of throw it around as long as you have that confidence. Now, the clutch is a little heavy. The brakes are easy to modulate, so that's fine. But the clutch is a little heavy, and it's got that tall factor. So if you can't confidently maneuver it around despite its bigger size, if you're a smaller person or a more trepidatious rider, you might not love it around town. The worst thing for me riding it around slower speeds is just that 1-2 shift. You never know where you want to be. So I did get a little bit more comfortable just leaving it in second and feathering the clutch a little bit more. Right now, with my sore forearms from being sick, it is a little bit tough to kind of keep working the clutch so much, but I'm trying to not let that too influence my impression here of the bike. But now we're out at higher speeds. We got a little bit more suburban area and then coming up to the highway. So what's it like here running around 4th or 5th gear? Let's see. About 50 miles per hour in 5th gear. You do feel the motor kind of clug along as you accelerate, but we've got the power. Wind certainly becomes more of a factor. That's no news for any sort of dual sport like this. I'm sure there are 1.5 million different aftermarket screens you could put on here if you so wanted to. It is kind of cool that Honda gives us these little bits of wind flaps here for our hands, so my hands aren't really getting much wind on them even up here at higher speeds. I don't think that's going to protect you too much from sticks or branches or anything riding off trail. It might a little bit. Also, since they are fairly in, I don't think they're going to get damaged too easily. When you're up here at higher speeds, however, this brake cable gets pushed back by the wind and it sort of blocks the upper part of your speedometer right where you are actually traveling. So it is often the case that I can't see what speed I'm going because of that silly brake cable. It's not as bad as on the XR650s, but it's definitely still there. Getting ready to hop on the 5 freeway. A lot of people will say, oh, okay, well, you get an XR650L if you want to do longer distance riding on the highway. And we'll see if that ends up being the case. Because I have been on the highway already on this bike, and I do know that you certainly feel that engine. And if you guys have trouble hearing me, I'll cut the footage on the highway and we'll give a little recap here at the end. There we are, 5th gear. Plenty of power to keep up with traffic. That's where you're going to see the big advantage compared to something like the XR650L. That bike, you're kind of you're getting up near the top of the power band and the gear set when you're at highway speeds. The 650L here, no problem accelerating even. They're at 70 to about 78 or so pretty easily. Cruising here at just over 70 miles per hour indicated. There's a lot of wind. I don't know how well you all are going to be able to hear me, but the vibrations are there. They're not really that much worse than most single-cylinder motorcycles, though. You do hear the engine, but it's not bad. That was quite windy. I think we had a little bit of a side and headwind coming there, so you probably couldn't have heard me super well in that footage. So recapping the XR650L on the highway. It's fine. It's actually not really that worse from a vibration standpoint as most singles. Now, that being said, most singles are pretty vibey on the highway, so I wouldn't want to be using this for super regular highway duty, but that's fine. You can putz around. I'm sure if you threw an aftermarket windscreen on there, you could ride a decent bit of time, no problem. You definitely have the power to accelerate around traffic and get up well above highway posted speed limits in most areas. Unlike the CRF300, where you're kind of running right into the edge of the power up at those highway speeds, this one's still pretty confident up there. You could have a passenger, you could have some gear, you could have some wind protection and still have some overhead. But that is bringing us to the end of the test here. So we need to get back to the pump, fill this up with 87 octane, and see what sort of numbers we get, because with no live readout here, I'm entirely in the dark. I'm expecting we get something like 51 miles per gallon. I'll be happy if we get more than that. I'll be a little disappointed if we get less. That's about what I figure. One thing I do want to mention is the seat. It's surprisingly comfy. There's a ton of squish in here, and the whole hour and a half or so riding, I'm still very comfortable, and that's not usually the case for these narrower dual sport seats. So that is one pro in the comfort sort of daily riding perspective as well, seat comfort. There we are, all fueled up, put in 0.889 gallons back into the tank. So we did 42.9 miles divided by 0.889. Okay, so a little bit under what I was predicting, but still right in that range. 48 miles per gallon here for the XR650L. Yeah, for a bike with a capability like this and the older technology, really not too bad of a figure. And I bet you a lot of that was brought down by the highway. If you were just riding kind of slower speed around town and everything like that, I'm sure you could get over 50 miles per gallon, no problem. We've got a 2.8 gallon fuel tank in here. 2.8 gallons times at 48 miles per gallon is giving you about 130 miles of usable daily riding fuel range here on the XR650. So, is this a bike I would daily? As weird as it is, I kind of would. I like the character. I wouldn't really mind too much having to use the choke and, you know, kind of get it going in the morning and everything like that, and kind of swing a big old leg over. And I don't know, it's, to me, I'm probably a little bit biased just because I do get to spend so much time on the newer machines and in newer cars and everything, that something like this is a little refreshing. Maybe for somebody coming off of an older bike, they would be welcoming the opportunity for fuel injection and a little bit of tech and everything. But for someone like me who just likes to clear their mind as they ride and be able to go pretty much anywhere, there's some charm to this. So I could certainly see the appeal. And then obviously if something happens, you drop it over or whatever, you slap some new plastics on there and you keep running. So thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for our full review and sort of post-mortem for the XR650L here. It's going to be sad to see it go, but I certainly get it as well. If you want to check out our other DM Commuter fuel economy test videos, check the link below for that playlist. We have the CRF300L and the XR150 as well. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from DM Moto, and as always, ride on.